What's up, guys? Karen Gillan here. I just wanted to say you should totally see my new Jumanji movie, Welcome to the Jungle, starring me, Karen Gillan, and other people, I guess. Please like me in my movie. This wig, man, like, my real hair is just trying to escape, you know? Much like the people in Jumanji are trying to escape Jumanji. Am I right? Eh? Eh? What's shakin' bacons? Let's take a trip to the jungle and talk about Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Where I am right now, we're in the midst of the bomb cyclone with Winter Storm Grayson. So it's nice to kind of take a trip mentally to the tropics and we can talk about Jumanji. So right off the bat, did I enjoy this movie? I did. Did I think I would enjoy this movie? I did not think I would. So a lot of reboots of film franchises in Hollywood are kind of playing it safe. They rely a little too heavily on nostalgia to get them the money and the tickets and the seats in the theaters. But this one was actually a fairly original story that built off of the basis of the first feature film Jumanji in 1995. And I was concerned that it was going to be really corny, that it was just going to be poorly written, poorly directed, poorly acted, and I'm happy to say that in my personal opinion, I was wrong on every one of those counts. For me personally, I think I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. For once, in terms of critics versus audience scores, I think that they were pretty close, and unlike those large disparities that you saw with Star Wars The Last Jedi or Bright, which were also movies that came out relatively around the same time frame as Welcome to the Jungle, this one, the critics and the audience are much closer. It seems that according to IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, critic scores are around like 7.3 out of 10 or 77%. Audience scores are showing as about 89%. Google users are reporting that 91% of people enjoyed the movie. So I would say, in comparison to the other margins that we've seen for films that have come out recently, this one's actually decently close. And it's a fun movie. I think that the storyline was handled well, the actors were fun, and there was a bunch of small details they paid attention to that were great. So in terms of actors, by far, Jack Black was the standout in this movie. I think he stole every scene that he was in. He did such an amazing job acting as this girl who was supposed to be like this teenager who was all about social media and her image. And the character development that he had throughout the movie in terms of turning this teenager named Bethany into someone who was a little less self-aware and more aware of the world around her was a really funny journey to watch, and his portrayal of the character was excellent, and I laughed every time he was on the screen. It was fantastic. I love Jack Black, and I thought he did a great job in this movie. Karen Gillan, I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion here, and for anybody who's a big fan of her, I'm sorry if I offend you by saying this, but I don't find Karen Gillan to be a particularly emotive actress. And she's not terrible, but I don't think she's the greatest. And when you put her alongside better actors than herself, that tends to really stand out. So I don't think that she was fantastic in this movie. She did a pretty decent job, but she didn't disappoint my perception of her as not being a particularly wonderful actress in this film. And of course, there was the whole controversy surrounding her costume, and she had, there was a controversy about it when the promotional posters for the movie first came out, and she addressed it by saying like, oh, there's a huge payoff, you guys are going to totally understand it when you see the film. And the payoff apparently was that it was just a throwback to 90s video games, and it was supposed to be a joke, I think, but it wasn't really funny. So that kind of begs the question, why would they bother throwing it in there? It seemed rather out of place with the rest of the movie. But her character that she plays, I thought she did a good job of portraying the kind of awkward, learning herself teenager that she was supposed to. So that wasn't bad. The Rock, I mean, he's a fairly decent actor. Everybody loves The Rock. He's such an all-around, like, nice guy. He definitely wasn't the standout actor in this movie. Like I said, I think Jack Black did way better than him. But Jack Black like outshone everyone. He's a great actor. And I did enjoy The Rock's performance overall. I liked how he kind of did his geeky pep talk throughout the film, and oh dear God, that awkward scene with him and Karen Gillan portraying the teenage love triangle, or not the love triangle, just their love interest. Oh, it was so cringy, and it was that cringy. It was supposed to be cringy because he did a really great job. And during the whole scene, I don't think I even looked at Karen Gillan because his expressions during that scene were so spot on. It was so funny. He did a great job with that. So he had some really good, funny moments. There was a couple times he was off, but overall, he did a great job. Kevin Hart, he also did a great job. For all of his real life drama that he's got going on, he was fantastic in this movie. I think in terms of acting quality in this movie, he was second to Jack Black. I think he definitely outshone Karen Gillan and The Rock in terms of his performance. The one gripe I have with his performance is that the character he's portraying, Fridge, who's supposed to be this big jock of a teenage guy, Fridge, in the establishing scenes of the movie, was kind of like this. I mean, he's like a Fridge. He's just kind of like this big dude who's just there. And he didn't have a lot of personality displayed in the intro or even at the conclusion of the movie. And Kevin Hart is just like all personality. So there was a definite disparity between the way Kevin Hart portrayed the character and the way that the teenage actor portrayed the character at the beginning and the end of the film. But with that being said, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if Kevin Hart had played it as stolid and as stodgy as the younger actor portrayed Fridge as a character. So I do enjoy that he threw his Kevin Hart twist in there. I thought it was hilarious. One of my favorite scenes was when he was just clinging to the rock and they were like booking it through the jungle, and you just hear this Doppler effect of Kevin Hart just shrieking as they run through the forest. It was so good. And he had a couple great lines about zoology. His character was a zoologist. So it was well done. He did a good job. The younger cast, I don't want to include them in my evaluation of cast performance because these are all pretty, to me at least, I consider them to be fairly new actors. I think if you're that young, you're kind of a new actor by default. And I think younger actors, they have a harder time showing characterization the way that older, more experienced actors do. So when I'm talking about acting quality, I'm not going to factor them in here. I think it's great that they all got cast. They all did pretty good jobs, and I'm happy for them that they were able to come out and really display their acting talent in this movie. So in regards of actors, that's how I felt about them. Jack Black, Kevin Hart, amazing. Rock and Karen, they were good as well. Overall, thoroughly enjoyable performances from all of them. And there was a couple secondary characters thrown in as well. And I enjoyed seeing, there's some actors and actresses in Hollywood, and they make a true talent out of playing these quirky little side characters that just pop up here and there. And it was really fun encountering them in this movie. So that was enjoyable. The storyline overall, I thought, was very well done. Fairly original in terms of relating to the first movie. They had a couple call outs to Alan Parrish from the first film. They find his house. One of the characters that's been stuck in the movie was living in his home for a while. And one thing I really enjoyed was the translation of video game interactions and Yui to the film in a way that was understandable for people who both play video games, like myself and like so many people do, and it was understandable and explained for those maybe baby boomers or older generations that are seeing this movie and are trying to relate to it. I thought it was really implemented well, the way that their powers would kick in, the way that the health bars and the life bars were displayed on their arms, just the way that they really translated it and the skills of the characters that they chose, I thought was well executed. And it didn't feel forced, and that was something that I think was handled very well. The movie was fun, and it was fun without being stale or feeling like they were grabbing us by the shoulders like, it's time for you to laugh at this joke. You know, there was a couple movies lately where you kind of feel like they give you the line and they're like, all right, you're gonna laugh at this line now. And you're like, but it wasn't funny. Nobody's laughing. This movie genuinely had just great, solidly delivered comedic timing and lines and writing. And there was nothing to me that felt forced about it. And I really enjoyed that. You know, there's a lot of movies that are attempting to play the humor card. Again, just to mention Star Wars The Last Jedi, they're just throwing it at you like, please laugh at this. And it's not always as funny as perhaps the writers think it will be. This movie, I'm happy to say, I did not feel that way at all. I thought it was great. It was funny. It was enjoyable. At least I enjoyed it. And I thought it was a very good balance, not only of humor, but of dramatic tension. And there was a couple times in the movie where I was like, I genuinely don't know where this is going to be headed. You know, of course, everybody survives at the end. Spoilers, you know, everybody lives. It's a happy ending. But there are moments where you can't really exactly guess what's going to happen. And I enjoy that, especially in a day and age where it feels like Hollywood movies are super formulaic. You can't guess exactly everything that's going to happen. And I enjoyed that about this film. And there was a lot of small details I enjoyed, you know, like the fact that we got to actually see the world of Jumanji. When I was younger and I first saw Jumanji in 1995, it was a great movie, and I was left with wanting to actually see, like, wow, this is a crazy world. Alan Parrish got, like, sucked into this place, and he survived. I want to see where he was for all that time. And they actually did a wonderful job of showing the world of Jumanji, and I thought that that was great. I thought other small details they paid attention to that could have been very easily overlooked were well done as well, such as when Karen Gillan's character, right after they come out of the waterfall, turns out she's been hit with crossfire and she has to respawn, and she is completely dry because she's respawned. She's a completely new life, new character, essentially, and everyone else is still wet. So that's something that could have been very easily overlooked, I think, and they paid attention to that, and that, to me, I enjoy. You know, the sets, a lot of sets for movies like these, you can really tell that they made these statues out of plaster or foam, and then they just kind of painted them. And these were well done. The settings and the statues and all of the backdrops that they used, they did a great job at making them look authentic and woven into this world that they created for the game of Jumanji. I enjoyed the Alan Parrish shout out, like I said. There was a little thing where when they were trying to find the missing piece of the map, there was a little elephant figurine, and that was like their clue to look for the elephant. And what was really interesting to me, and I would have to rewatch the 1995 film again just to see if this little theory in my head is correct, but it almost looked like the elephant was one of the pieces that you can choose to play on the board game version, that, you know, it kind of like moved by itself every time they rolled the dice. And I thought that was really, if that was the case, that would be a very interesting detail to have thrown in and included. Like, hey, here's a piece from the original board game that showed up, you know, in addition to Alan Parrish's house and all those little kind of tweaks that you can see reflected and honoring the original movie back in the mid-90s. One thing I also particularly enjoyed was the attention to dialogue in terms of the character Nick Jonas played, who was Alex, the original kid that got sucked into the movie, and he spoke with like true 90s dialogue, brought up 90s heartthrobs, and I thought they did a great job of really weaving that in, and that gave the characters, you know, the clues, like, hey, this guy didn't just find this game and dive in like a day ago or something, and we just happened to come in right after him. They were like, oh my god, this is somebody else, like this is a different kid. So I thought that was really fun, well done. So overall, 8 out of 10. I thought it was a fun modern take on the original Jumanji with a new original story added to it. I didn't give it a full 10 out of 10 because I think some of the performances by the actors left a little to be desired. They were a little weak, and there were several questions that I thought were left unanswered, or little plot holes that were not tied together by the end of the film. But overall, I think that Welcome to the Jungle successfully catered to the craving that a lot of people have for this nostalgia factor, while still managing to breathe a breath of fresh air into the franchise as a whole. So I recommend it. It's a fun watch. I totally think you guys should go see it and take it for what it is. It's a fun, lighthearted, entertaining romp through the jungle, and it's a shout out to the 90s culture, which is so big right now. So anyway, you guys stay warm during the storm, and I will catch you later. Bye.